Hello, my name is actually Champ. Well, it's actually Champ. My name is Champ, so actually Champ. Because people always wonder, are you? Yes, I am. Today we're going to be talking about how to create a character in Solasta, the Crown of a Magister. This game is absolutely a blast. If you are a fan of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, this is the game for you. If you've been missing being around the table and you just wish that you could be playing with your friends, or maybe you just want to play more and wish you could play more often, this is the game for you. This game is not made by Wizards of the Coast. It is not based on any of their intellectual properties. This is not an Eberron or a Forgotten Realms or a Dark Sun campaign. It is totally unique. The thing that this game has in common with 5th edition is that it is based on the 5th edition SRD rules. Let's take a look. How to create a character in Solasta, Crown of the Magister. You can see here that this game comes with a collection of characters that are pre-generated. You have these 6, and you're welcome to use those, but oh my gosh, do not do that. The fun of a role-playing game is making your own characters and watching them grow. So if you make your personal characters, you can do these. If you want to see the tale of Alex, Shay, Theus, and Stormy, this is my family. I'm streaming this on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And you can see what happens with us. Now, I will go through the process that I use in order to make my characters and give you some tips on what you can do to make the best characters for you. So let's go ahead and make a new one right now. If you're new to Dungeons & Dragons, or if you're new to role-playing games, there's just a quick thing that you need to know. In every one of these games, you have a character that has a race and that has a job. And the race and the job are two separate things. For example, a dwarf fighter. That is someone who fights with weapons and is a dwarf. You could have an elf fighter or a halfling fighter, but all of them use weapons. They're just a different race. So you have to decide what race and class combination, both their race and their job, are you interested in. Now, the game puts the race first, but I would argue that class is superior. Let's talk about why. So for right now, I'm just going to select human. I'm just going to see that. Now you can see all of these, and we'll come back. I promise. I'll show you everything. But right now, I'm going to select human, and then I'm going to click next. And that's going to take us to the class. Now here's where you need to be thinking. I need you to be thinking about the outside. What is going to be happening after you make this character? Because this game allows you to create 4 characters that are going to be going on the adventure together. They are not going to be replaced. It's going to be these 4 characters for the game. So you need to decide, what is your party makeup going to be? It's not just one character that resonates with you. It's 1 character and 3 support characters that are going to help them, or 4 characters that you are deeply vested in. You also need to make sure that you cover all of the roles. So you are going to need a spellcaster. You only have one real choice, and that is the wizard. Yes, there is an upper level version of the rogue and the fighter that allows you to cast magic spells, but they aren't as powerful as what you get from a straight wizard. You're probably going to need a wizard. Second, you're going to need a rogue. The sneaky, pick the locks, do the extra damage. In my party, the rogue is the one who saves the day every time. So you're going to need a rogue. So you're going to need a wizard, you're going to need a rogue. You're also going to need a healer, and that's probably going to be a cleric. I'm just telling you, this is not necessarily what you may want to hear, but if you want to have a successful experience in this game and not a lot of restarts, you're going to need these 3 roles covered. So you're going to need a cleric, you're going to need a rogue, and you're going to need a wizard. Now there are subclasses inside of these classes. You're going to get to customize and really do that. But for right now today, let's just talk about what the 4th role that you're going to need to take care of, and that is going to be the fighter. Now, you could choose any one of these 3 for your 4th slot. You need a wizard, you need a rogue, you need a cleric, and for your 4th slot, you have a choice of 3 different ones: a fighter, a paladin, or a ranger. You get to pick. They each have a different flavor, they each have different things they do well. A fighter is just that. He fights, or she fights. They use weapons and they hit things. They can do them a little bit better than others, or in doing them in different ways, but that's essentially their character. Very simplistic. The paladin is a holy warrior, one that has all of the traits of a fighter, but also has the opportunity to cast divine spells similar to a cleric. So a paladin is kind of a mixture of these 2. A ranger is also like a fighter in that they use martial weapons, and they're like a paladin in that they can cast divine spells like a cleric, but they are more focused on survival and, as you see here, being a little bit stealthier. So think of this one as being more of a knight this one being more of an outdoorsman, and this one being more of a soldier. Those are some gross stereotypes that can help you to kind of get through. Which one do I do? I'm going to build a fighter. Then let's go back and talk about race. It affects both the look of the character on the screen, their voice actor. It also affects their abilities. For example, here we have dwarves. There are two kinds of dwarfs, the hill dwarf and the snow dwarf. Each of them has slightly different statistic benefits. And this is where you need to start thinking about what is the role that I want this character to have. But here's where you have to decide how much min-maxing you want to do. By min-maxing meaning giving yourself the best bonus to those. A fighter predominantly needs strength and constitution. Those are their two primary stats. So any character class that gives you extra strength and extra constitution is a good choice. So taking a look at our hill dwarf here, we can see that a hill dwarf has a constitution bonus of +2 and a wisdom bonus of +1. That's fantastic. We don't necessarily need wisdom, but we get a bonus of +2 to constitution. That's great. They also have other benefits. Saving throw advantage against poison, resistance to poison damage. They are proficient with battle axes, hand axes, and warhammers. Well, that's great. They also get a +1 hit point per level, and they can see in dark vision, which is huge in this game. Lighting is everything. If you wanted to play a snow dwarf has constitution +2, saving throw against poison like the others, battle axe, hand axe, but they get a bonus to dexterity. So they might be better suited to being a rogue as opposed to their hill dwarf cousins. The hill dwarf gets a bonus to wisdom, which might make them a better choice for being a cleric, as the clerics use wisdom as their primary stat. It is up to you. You decide how you want to play this. Half-elves get a +2 to charisma and increase 2 other scores by 1. So again, it's 4 bonus points, but they're getting to spread it over charisma for 2 points, and then 1 point in 2 other areas. There are 2 kinds of elves, high elves and sylvan elves. The high elves get a bonus of 2 to dexterity and get a bonus of intelligence +1. Very good for a wizard character. Their wood elf, the sylvan elves, get a +2 to dexterity and a +1 to wisdom. Very good for rangers and clerics. Halflings, 2 kinds. And again, this is a drastic departure from the D&D world. We have marsh halflings, which get a bonus of to dexterity and constitution, making them for really solid rogue types. And island halflings, which get a bonus to dexterity of 2 and a charisma of +1. So you see that they all have some really interesting different things. Oh, what do humans get? Humans get +1 to every ability. If you're in doubt and you don't know what to do, go ahead and grab that human. That's what we'll do for today. We're going human. You also have the opportunity to edit your equipment. To be candid, I just went through and picked out exactly what they had unless there was something specific that I wanted for the character. Oh, I don't want him to have a longsword. I want him to use a morning star instead. It just gives the opportunity for you to flavor this however you want it to go. Next thing that we're going to do is we are going to move on to the background. What did the character do before they became an adventurer? Did they go to school? Did they live in some kind of religious organization? Were they rich and wealthy? Did they serve in some kind of a capacity of being servant work for the government? Maybe some kind of a soldier. Were they a lowlife like a street kid or an orphan? Were they a philosopher, meaning that they've spent their life just kind of learning, not necessarily in an academic setting where they were being trained, but just thinking about things and pondering? Were they a sellsword? Were they a soldier or a mercenary that walked around and did whatever they did? Or were they a spy where they were somehow in covert operations? These are all choices that you get to make. Now, why would you pick one over the other? You could pick by flavor alone, 100% you can. But there's also, each one gives you a benefit. So for example, let's say we're making a fighter, so it makes sense that he might be a mercenary or a sellsword. So you can use this to bump up things to be better at them, or you can use this to round out your character to make things they might not be as well versed in. For example, a fighter already has athletics as one of their core skills. So maybe you want to pick something that gives them some different skills. For example, if they take philosophy, they might be proficient in medicine and persuasion. Oh, well, it would be different skills that they would be proficient in, which means they would have a better chance of succeeding at those roles. Oftentimes, you get a toolkit that comes with this, and some kind of language bonus that goes with it. There's also some equipment that comes, but again, equipment is going to come so quickly. You're not going to be like, oh, I wish I had that pack from when I started out, because I definitely chose the wrong one. You didn't choose the wrong one. You did fine. So pick whichever one that you're interested in. I'm going to say that our fighter, maybe he was an aristocrat, and he grew up rich, and he is now going off and doing that. So he's like a knight, maybe. So here he is. He's proficient in history, persuasion, and intimidation. These are things that he might have learned in court. And he gets 2 additional languages, he gets a bunch of money, and he gets those. You get to choose 2 different personality flags to work with. Now for these, this is just a personal choice. What I have found that these affect is what are the words that come out of your voice actor whenever they're interacting with NPC cutscenes. They're almost customized, and it seems to me that these are where they're pulling those lines from. So instead of having to select which one of these 4 pieces of dialogue to decide whether you're going to be rude or whatever, and these are the words that are chosen to script out those moments. So we'll pick authority and egoism, which means that this character has a tendency to enforce rules and beliefs with authority and leadership, which makes sense because they would have been exposed to that in court, and egoism, which is the tendency to put oneself, friends, and family first at the expense of others, which also makes sense for what royalty would learn in court. You also have a choice of 2 other alignment systems that you get to add to this, and they call these additional personality flags, but really this is the alignment system. You'll notice that there is 2 axes, a good and an evil axis, and a law and chaos axis. So if you're a character who is chaotic good, you might have traits that land over here. If you're making a character that you want to be evil and chaotic, they might have characteristics that over here. And these are just add-on characteristics you can choose. I'm going to go ahead and say this character is chaotic good, and he picks those 2. Why not? Sometimes for characters I've made, I will pick just the 2 that I already have, and it just kind of doubles down and always make sure that you get a character that is consistent. We're complicated people. You can be as complicated as you want to with these. The next is probably the most critical thing that's going to affect your character on every single turn of the game, and that is their statistics. Now you have 2 ways that you can go about doing this. The first is to roll your statistics. As you see here, there were numbers that were already on screen when I clicked it. That meant that these numbers were generated randomly right as I pushed the button. You can re-roll the dice, but that's kind of cheap. If you're going to roll the dice and you want random, take the random. Do it. This is how I made all of my characters because I enjoy this. If you don't enjoy that, you're welcome to use what's called the standard array. It gives a well-balanced, solid character. If this is not what you'd like, you also can choose this second path, the point buy system. And here you go through the process of spending points to give yourself stats that you desire. Now, when you're doing this, whether you chose random dice rolls, whether you chose the standard array, or you're choosing the point buy, what you're really going for is, what do I do with these statistics in order to build the character that I want? If we're building a fighter, the 2 stats that we need to be high are Constitution and Strength. Hit points, and the combat ability. Now you could make a fighter that has a dexterity build, 100%, and you can do that if you're somebody who wants to go for that, please be my guest. But if you're building a standard issue fighter, just the bulky, tanky type, you need strength and constitution. So we could just pump these scores up. And every time that we do this, we are pulling from this number that we have remaining. So let's go ahead and get that one up there as well. We can make these so there's not a penalty. You can see down here in this row is what's going to happen every time we make a die roll. If we get all these to where they're just basic, the highest that you can go is going to be a 16, but you can go ahead and get these. Now, if you don't know what to do with your stats and you don't know where to place them, the important backup stat is going to be wisdom, which gives you a high perception score. Now, the next thing that we're going to need to do is move on into what is your fighting style. Now, each character class, whether it was paladin, ranger, wizard, rogue, they all have subclasses inside of them. This is our kind of one of the ways in which we get to customize your fighter to make them different from every other fighter. There are 6 different fighting styles. What's your character good at? Now we chose a high strength, so we are not going to be an archer because ranged weapons utilize the dexterity trait. So this is probably not going to be the best way for us to do that. But if you wanted to, archery gives you a +2 bonus to your attack rolls. We have defense, which is while you're wearing armor, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class. We have dueling, which is when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, could be a shield, and that you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. Very solid. Great weapon fighting is when you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die and you make an attack with a melee weapon that you're wielding with 2 hands. You can re-roll the die, and you must use the new roll even if it's a 1 or a 2. But it must have the 2-handed property. So if you're like somebody who uses a big battle axe or a great sword, this allows you to do extra damage. It's very satisfying when you can re-roll a 1, because nothing feels worse than rolling low on the damage die when you're trying to smite them with one shot. You can also take the protection fighting style, which is when a creature you can see attacks a target other than you that is within 5 feet of you, that's 1 square, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll, but you must be wearing a shield. So this makes you a little bit better at trying to help out your opponents. So this makes you more of a tanky tank. And then lastly is 2-weapon fighting, which allows you to apply your damage modifier to your second weapon attack. All characters can 2-weapon fight if they meet certain criteria of the weapon properties, but only characters that have this feat are allowed to add their damage die to the second-hand weapon. If I was building the tanky tank fighter, I would either put points here, which gives you a bonus to AC, or here, which allows me to protect my my other party members. Again, you want to be thinking about the entire party, not just one character. I'm going to go with defense. Next thing that we have to deal with is our actual skills. We got some skills, and you can see them here. This little knight's helmet. These are the 3 skills that we got because of our background, because we chose our aristocrat. But now we have 2 class skills that we get to choose because we're a fighter. Athletics is a no-brainer. Please make sure that you take either athletics or acrobatics for every one of your characters if you can. We have a lot of jumping over things and jumping down things and climbing off of things, and you're going to need to use those skills often. Other skills that are used all the time is going to be perception. It helps to have that on all of your characters. The rest are all flavors. Survival is nice. History, intimidation, persuasion. These are social things that happen. These are things that happen if you're trying to figure out, oh, what is this object that I found? And I would do it just like this, where I put points into perception and to athletics, because those are the things that are going to help me on a regular basis. You also gain Smith's tools. I don't care what languages you pick. Just make sure that everyone in the party can speak one of all of these. That's really it. Try to spread out your language pool so that somebody in the group can do this. So out of your 4 characters, your wizard, your rogue, your cleric, and your fighting type character, that somebody can do all of these. Last thing is everyone's favorite, where you get to make your character look as cool as you want them to be. If we're gonna go for a name, I love the idea of random tables. And when I click on a random table and it gives me the name Blaine for an aristocrat, you know that's the name. Blaine Dudley? Oh yeah, Blaine Dudley, you know it's you. Now, for me, since I'm making this character just to kind of show you a proof of concept, I didn't know what exactly he was going to look like or whatever, but now we are going to make the ultimate Blaine Dudley. So Blaine is male. We have 3 different choices of body types that we can go with as we do those. So Blaine is clearly this guy. What face is the Blaine face? Which one of these says Blaine? Oh, it's this one. You can go through all of the natural skin tones of the top row. But here we start to move into some weirdness. Yes, you can make your very own avatar blue person. You can make your drow. You can make your goblin skins. You can do these. Even if the character isn't actually green, you can do with that. So, boom, there's Blaine. You've got some different hair choices that you can do. You can spin the character around to see what it looks like. Blaine would not have that hair. Blaine would have, yes, perfect. Thank you, Blaine. That's excellent. Blaine's beard shape, choices abound. Oh, yes, perfect. What color is Blaine's hair? We all knew it was blonde. Eye color, Blaine has blue eyes. Dreamy, dreamy blue eyes. And what is his physique? Oh, he's a big burly boy. Great job. How old is Blaine? This is an interesting one. I haven't seen this in a game in a while, but you can kind of drag this slider to make him look a little bit older. You look at the what effect it has on the skin texture. We're gonna go ahead and keep Blaine looking young. That's great. Now we get to choose his voice.
You could do it.
You are a valued comrade.
What's your step, friend?
We'll go with voice 1. And what pronoun does Blaine go by? He, she, or they. Blaine is a he. You can add your own personal backstory if you like, but for our purposes, Blaine is done. So ladies and gentlemen, Blaine Dudley has now been added to my roster of characters. You need 4 characters in order to create a party. I'll be making a video for all 4 different archetypes so that you can build a party that's going to be perfect for your adventure in Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Be on the lookout for those videos coming very soon. So, without further ado, let's do the countdown. In 3, in 2, in 1. 1. Make a great party. Think about all 4 character roles before you start. I would choose the character class before the race. 2. Make sure that you cover all the different skills and all the different languages so that you ensure that you have a broad spectrum of characters and broad spectrum of abilities. And 3. Follow me over on Actually Champ on Twitch if you want to see my playthrough with my family. Let's see if we are able to conquer Solasta, Crown of the Magister I'll be looking for see you at the net here or there. Follow, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.